Okay, welcome back to video 7 in our launch series where we're taking your ideas through to launch as far as making them an actual business. In our last episode, we were doing all things numbers and we were playing with Excel spreadsheets that had the capacity to magic out your unit price and your profits and all the numbers you need in order to make sure that your idea is viable. We're now jumping into another really important part of running a business, and we're going to call this stuff the nitty-gritty. And it's sometimes the stuff that we forget to look at in great detail, but is probably integral to successfully running your business and maybe not ending up in jail or in a huge amount of debt or some other huge big problem. So this will be a lot of content for this particular video, but it's super important that you tap in and stay engaged because it might save you a lot of money, a lot of time, or a really big consequence later on. So I've kind of touched on why it's important, I guess, Nicola, but in your experience, maybe tell us a little bit about you and what you do and why this sort of stuff is so important to running a business.
So my name's Nicola and I'm an accountant at O'Connell's OBM, and we deal with a lot of startups and sort of help them navigate through the sort of registrations and sort of detail that you might not think is necessarily relevant, but it has a big impact on your business.
Rad. So it's kind of all the stuff that you leave to the last minute, right? Because you don't want to do because it feels hard and complex, so we kind of leave it. And today, I think it's really important for this particular section that we provide a little bit of a disclaimer, because we're not going to tell you at any point what to do, because Nicola and I don't know your business or you or your circumstances. So there's a massive disclaimer on this one, which means go and see your friendly accountant like Nicola if you want to know more about what's right for you and your business. We're going to give you kind of the breadth of information and point you in the direction to find out more stuff that will help you. But ultimately, your accountant, somebody like Nicola at O'Connell's OBM, is the best person to step you through what's right for your business and for you. Nicola, step us through about the different structures that exist.
Mm-hmm. So there's a number of different structures that you can use to get sort of better tax outcomes for your business. So those include being a sole trader or individual, a partnership or a company or trust. So each of these different structures have different tax implications. And as a young person, I'd suggest starting out small, but you need to be forward thinking with your structure and try and set in place something that you can change and grow as your business grows.
So when we talk about starting small, we're talking about probably getting an ABN and being a sole trader. Is that probably the simplest structure to start from?
That would be the most simple, and then working up to a trust would be the most sort of complex structure and the most flexible.
Great. So we're going to give you some time now to dig into some of this information a little bit more. And there's a really rad website. Again, all the links and more that we're talking about today are in the description to this YouTube video. So just hit pause, scroll down, find the link. It's all in order in the video for you. But this is the first link that we're going to look at. And it's actually a website that's specifically on how to start a business as a young person. So Nicola and I are actually going to throw to you and give you sort of 15 minutes to dig into that website and have maybe a little bit more of a look at what's involved in getting an ABN and maybe what some of those different structures are with being the sole trader with the ABN or being a company or being a trust, and then maybe jot some notes down. So anything you find in your research across these websites, we'd strongly suggest you have like maybe a notebook in front of you and you're jotting some information down and potentially some questions you might have, so that when you connect with your legendary accountant, you can't have Nicola, she's my accountant, so you got to find somebody else. I'm kidding, you can have Nicola if you want to. But write those questions down so that when you connect with your accountant, you can ask the questions you need to ask in order to find out the information you need to know for your business. We'll see you back in about 10 or 15 minutes. Welcome back, legends. Hopefully you've done a little bit of a deep dive into the different business structures that exist and have a little bit more of an idea about how you can start small and then build up bigger with your own business idea. We're going to dig into my least favorite part of business, apart from the numbers, which scare me, is the record keeping stuff. Nicola, what is record keeping? Why is it so important? And where can the students go, I guess, to access perhaps some platforms that might make record keeping a little bit easier?
Yeah. So record keeping, while it is a bit boring, it's super important for a successful business. There are plenty of different tools that you can use to sort of keep your records in place and sort of keep your business organized. So for bookkeeping specifically, there are a few different platforms that you can have a look at, including Xero, MyOb, QuickBooks, and Wave. All of these have sort of different levels of complexity and also different pricing structures. Other than bookkeeping, there are also plenty of different tools that you can use for just day-to-day business management, including things like Trello and Asana for just managing your tasks throughout the day. But this is, again, something that your accountant or a business advisor could help you with.
Fantastic. So what we're looking at here, guys, is our record keeping. So it's kind of what money's coming in and what money's going out, and how am I keeping a paper trail in a really organized way so that I know that I've got more money coming in than I do going out.
Yep.
And that's going to affect like our profits and all sorts of other things as well. We're going to give you 10 or 15 minutes to dig into some of the platforms that will make you efficient and effective at running your business, whether it's some of those record keeping tools like Xero or QuickBooks or Wave, or whether it's some productivity tools like Asana and Trello and Monday. Take 10 or 15, check them out, and we'll see you soon. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to dig into registrations. Now, we've probably touched on some of these when we looked at our startup costs for our business. Nicola, talk to us a little bit about registrations, and I guess what are the big 5 that you need to think about when it comes to starting and running your business?
Yeah. So there's a few different registrations that you might need to run a successful business and also to stay compliant with different governing bodies.
What happens when you're not compliant?
Some hefty penalties or potentially jail time. So
we want to avoid that.
So a few different registrations that you might need include a tax file number, which is just a registration with the ATO for your income tax. Similarly, an ABN is a business identifier for governing bodies and also just general community. GST, which might touch on later as well, which is basically goods and services tax. So you'll be remitting and paying GST on goods that you are selling or purchasing. A business name registration is pretty important to ensure that you can trade under your business name. And then finally, PAYG withholding is something that you'll need if you're employing staff members.
Awesome. Some kind of complex but really important things to look at. And again, just to remind you guys that you don't have to know how to do all this stuff yourself. If you tap into your accountant or maybe a business advisor or mentor, but particularly your accountant, they'll be able to help you navigate some of these components in starting your business. But we're going to throw to you again and just give you some time to look at those 5 different things in a little bit more detail and work out which parts are relevant for you, maybe add to your startup costs if you need to around any of those registrations, and just make sure that you've kind of got a good idea of where you're sitting at for registrations that you might need for your business. So licenses and permits are a little bit different to registrations. Yeah. Talk to us about these and what we need to think about.
Yeah, so licenses and permits are pretty varied. So to ensure that you've got the right licenses and permits in place, it's important to do some research and maybe also chat to an advisor to make sure that you have the right things to protect your business.
Awesome. So we're going to throw to you and give you a really quick search to do. So if you head to this website, you'll see a screen grab of it on your screen right now. It's actually a guided search to help you identify perhaps some licenses or permits that might be important for your business. So again, in the description on this YouTube video, you're going to find the handy link to go straight here. But take 10 or 15 minutes and complete that guided search to find out what licenses you might need. Welcome back, guys. We are going to talk about insurance now, which is another protective mechanism to make sure that your business is safe from things that might be unforeseen now but might happen later. What do we need to know about insurances to protect us, our incomes, and our businesses?
Yep. So there's, I guess, first and foremost, insurance is an asset protection strategy. So it can protect you, your business, your consumers, your employees, and just your asset value within your business. So there are a number of different types of insurance, including sort of professional indemnity insurance, income protection in Indy's case. There's just general business insurances that might be relevant to you, warranties for your consumers, and many more. So we'd recommend talking to a financial advisor or an insurance broker about what ones might be relevant to you.
Cool. And you can have a look at this website here to maybe have a little bit more of a deep dive into the different insurances that exist and might be relevant for you. As Nicola sort of flagged, different businesses have different needs. So make sure that you're getting some specific advice for your business to make sure that you are protected and looked after. We're going to give you 10 minutes, have a bit of a deep dive into business insurances, and maybe again jot down some notes about some questions that you might have or some specific things that you need to look into in a little bit more detail. All right, guys, intellectual property. And this is one we don't think about until it's actually a problem. What do we need to know about intellectual property, Nicola, and why is it so important that anything that we're creating that we protect from the beginning?
Yeah, so intellectual property, firstly, I'd recommend talking to a lawyer to make sure that you're protected in this area. But it involves a number of different things. So IP contracts, copyright, trademarks, and a whole host of other things, including just ensuring your structure supports your IP. This is really something that you should talk to an advisor about to make sure you're in a safe position and that your sort of assets are protected.
Absolutely. So again, you can head to this website here to do a bit more of a deep dive into intellectual property and get across some of those moving parts like trademark and IP and all sorts of other things. So we'll give you 10 minutes now. Hit pause and do a bit of a deep dive into intellectual property to see what parts you might need to protect in order to keep your business safe and working well. The last one that we're going to jump in now is one that is really important. And a lot of what we've been talking about with some of our business structures is around how to manage tax so that we're paying the right amount and we're not super out of pocket for our business. When you're like working for somebody, you kind of pay tax automatically, like as a part of your salary. But if you're running a business, it doesn't work like this, does it?
No, there are lots of taxes that you might have to pay. So those include income tax, GST, as we spoke about earlier, PAYG withholding for your employees. You might have payroll tax and a whole host of different other obligations. Your accountant will be able to sort of get your tax affairs in order and make sure that you're paying the right amount of tax and sort of putting a planning strategy in place so that you're not paying miles too much. But the important takeaway from this video, I think, is just to make sure that you're saving for your tax obligations, because that's really all you can do on your end to ensure that you're in a good position come tax time.
And what would be sort of the minimum amount to put away as a percentage of money that's coming in to make sure that you're set up, I guess, in a positive way for any tax that you might have to pay?
So the small business tax rate at the minute is 27.5%, but is changing every now and then, so roughly sort of 27.5 would be the sort of place to start.
Cool. So what we need to be doing obviously is doing a bit of a deep dive into tax, and there's a website here for you to look at different tax registrations for your business. But also when you've got money coming in, so somebody's paying you, you need to be remembering that you have to keep that third of that income aside in order to keep up with your tax obligations later. So we're going to give you 10 or 15 minutes now. Check out those tax registrations and also be mindful when we're looking at our profit from our unit cost and taking away our retail price, that we also need to factor in the tax that we need to pay out of our products and services that we're selling to. Take 10 minutes, have a deep dive into tax registration. Welcome back, guys. That was a lot of information in this particular video. And unlike some of the other videos where we had you action things, this video was more about us sort of providing you with the information to start and then kind of letting you do some discovery around what parts might be applicable for your business. This video, more than any others, it'd be really important for you to go and have a trawl through the links that appear in the description so that you can access the other support materials to navigate some of these complex components. Best piece of advice is find an accountant and definitely don't wait until you're in trouble to do so. So if you learn anything from this video, it's deep dive into the detail and have a look at what applies to you, and then find an accountant, chat to your friends, family, and others to find a great recommendation and connect with somebody who can support you in this part of your journey. Last thing for us to do in this video is just to refer back to our business models canvas, because some of the moving parts that we talked about today in registrations and insurances may have had implications for your startup costs, or perhaps some of your overheads, or perhaps you've had to change the price that you're selling your product or service for to account for the tax that you need to pay. So if there's any amendments that you need to make or notes to your business models canvas so that that business plan is really robust and is obviously reflective of where your business is at, then just jump in and make sure that you finish that one up before you loop into the next video.